Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials.
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story.
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McClain.
Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the Her Why podcast. We've had some amazing conversations with women connected to BYU athletics, and there's plenty more to come. Over the next few weeks, you'll hear from BYU basketball's Delaney Gibb and BYU soccer's Mackenzie Vance. But this week, we're excited to share something a little different, an episode from our BYU radio family. This is Royal Legacy, a show I also host, where we dive into the deep family ties within BYU sports. In this episode, I talk with siblings Kate and Nate Dahle. Kate is currently a pitcher for BYU softball, while Nate, a former BYU pitcher, is now playing professional baseball for the Tampa Bay Rays organization. You'll hear about their shared love of competition, the challenges they faced, and their journeys to become elite athletes. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Royal Legacy, and we'll be back next week with more from Her Why.
Welcome to Royal Legacy, where we will explore the rich athletic history and deep family connections of BYU sports. Join us as we honor the past, celebrate the present, and look forward to the future of the BYU Cougars. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Lauren McClain, and welcome to Royal Legacy, where we dive deep into the family connections of BYU sports. Joining me today are brother and sister Kate and Nate Dahle. Kate is a pitcher on the BYU softball team, and Nate Dahle pitched for the BYU baseball team and is now playing professionally for the Tampa Bay Rays organization and the Montgomery Biscuits. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
I always love, this might be our first brother-sister interview we've done. We've done a lot of family member interviews. I think this is the first brother-sister, so this is going to be fun.
It will be fun.
Kate, your softball season gets started this week. What do you love most about this year's team specifically?
I mean, this year we are stacked in every way. I mean, offense will be super good. A lot of new faces to our lineup this year, and that's always exciting to see how that's going to play out. But our defense, I mean, there's no stopping us. I mean, we got 3 new pitchers this year, and then we got a couple back from injury. So we're looking good on all platforms, and we're ready to play. We're ready to get on the real dirt and out in the warm weather. So.
I'm sure we're all ready for the warm weather. But yeah, something special about softball and baseball season because it's kind of like the first inkling that spring's coming too, which I love. I think you guys were picked to finish 5th in the Big 12. How do you feel about that preseason ranking?
I am so excited. I mean, last year we weren't picked to finish very high, but I felt like we did pretty good for our first year in the Big 12. I mean, this year we're not happy with the 5th ranking. Like, obviously we want to be better and do better than that, but I mean, sky's the limit, right? So I think that just kind of shows that we can compete in the Big 12 and that we will, and we are going to. So
I love it. Nate, you report to spring training on February 12th. Is that right?
No, I'll go back. So that's when big league guys go.
Oh, okay. When do you report?
I'll go with the 24th. So I'm
the 24th.
About 12 days later. So
okay,
that's big league camp. I'll go to minor league camp. So I'll report the 24th of February. So
I'm sure it's a grind, but is that something you're excited to get back into?
Yeah, I mean, we ended in the end of September, almost the start of October. So it's been a good chunk of 5 months. It's time to get back and going. I know you can. You're excited when the season ends because you get to come home. Yeah. You're able to see, okay, hey, the seasons are actually changing instead of Montgomery, Alabama, where it's hot, sweaty, muggy, humid. And then you get to come back to Utah and you see the colors changing in the mountains and all that type of stuff. So it's good to come back, but now it's been the 5 months. It's time to go back and put the work in.
5 months is a big off season. What do you do to kind of keep in shape and keep in baseball mode?
Yeah, I mean, at the first little bit of the off season, it's kind of just decompress from the season because we go from, like I said, February to end of September. So it's a full 8 months. So you're just grinding day in and day out. You only get 1 off day a week, which is different than the big leagues. The big leagues, they maybe get 2 to 3 off days a month. We get that we get it every other or every week. So we get Mondays off. And so it's kind of nice to have that where you can kind of decompress in season and kind of just, all right, 6 days in a row on the road. You play 6 games on the road there, and 6 games at home. So it's kind of a lot. You're there at the baseball park all day, every day from 1 to 11 o'clock at night just because that's the rigorous schedule we play. So it's kind of nice to come back and decompress. But about a month in, you're like, holy cow, I'm bored. Like, what do I do? I need to get off the couch. I need to stop watching YouTube. It's time to get back into shape and get rolling. So I go up to a facility in Salt Lake, Mountain West Baseball Academy. We have a couple guys that are from the state of Utah that go and train there. And so it's just nice to have, mainly pitchers.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to have those guys there that you can bounce ideas off and be like, okay, hey, what did you see in your season that kind of helped you? This is what I saw. I stayed healthy this way. How did you stay healthy? What can I give you that you can give me back to kind of just mesh together and see what the next year brings? So it's fun.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And then it gets you amped up for the season to come.
For sure.
I'm better. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you got those guys there that are competitors.
Yeah,
and
right.
so if you surround yourself with competitors, then you're ultimately going to bring that out of yourself. And so I'm like, all right, watch this. I'm going to paint this fastball in the outside corner, and you got to do it too. So if you can't, then I'm better than you. That's kind of what you do.
That's so cool. Well, you're a phenomenal pitcher, and I want to know, what's it like watching your baby sister compete at the highest levels of softball as a pitcher herself?
It's very impressive. Last year she was a true freshman, should have been a senior in high school. My parents didn't hold her back. She had a late birthday, but didn't hold her back. Just said, hey, you're going to go to school. She went to BYU, and first year in the Big 12, she got some big-time saves against Oklahoma, at Oklahoma, which were they the number 1 team in the country at that time?
They were ranked number 2 at the time, but ended up winning the national championship. So.
And so just to kind of just to see that and see the way that she competed all year as a true freshman is very impressive because, I went a different route than her, and just seeing how competitive and how hard sports are, especially at a big-time Division I school in a Power 4 conference, playing some of the best teams in the country day in and day out, and watching her compete and just dice was insane. It was really cool to watch, and it made me super proud, and it's probably cool because she got to watch me and my brothers play baseball all the time, and so it kind of probably instilled that into her that, hey, if you go out and compete, you're going to be successul.
Which I want to talk about that with you because you got to watch your brothers as well. But I'm still kind of dying that your friends were in high school and you're like, oh, well, I'm pitching against Oklahoma, like this big time team. Like it's just kind of crazy, that dynamic. But so you have 2 older brothers playing baseball professionally, including Nate. What's it like watching your other brothers chase their dreams in baseball?
It is amazing. I always tell people that I've been to more baseball games than anyone ever in their whole entire life because I grew up at the ball field. If it wasn't a baseball field, it was either like the basketball court or a football field. I was always around it, always like competitive nature. So growing up, especially like watching Nate and Jake, I kind of like fondled my love for sports. Like that's where I kind of got it from, and watching them compete and being like this big, I don't know, like they're like my idols, right? Like that's who I looked up to, and that's who I wanted to be like.
You guys grew up in Tremont, in Utah, a small town. You're the second of 4 kids in the family, Nate. You're all athletes. Where did your love of sports begin?
That's a good question. I think it kind of just was instilled in me through my parents. My mom obviously played basketball, all the sports in high school. Big-time cheerleader. She loved cheerleading, and she'll say that. But my dad also, he played basketball and baseball in high school. And so just growing up as a kid, I think that was the big-time push was you're going to play sports. You're going to – like I enjoyed every single second of it. Obviously, there's hard moments that you go through that you lose games that you shouldn't lose, and you're like, oh, this sucks. But that's what helps you learn. And so just being taught it from a young kid that – my dad was a diehard Steelers fan. I'm a diehard Steelers fan. That's just the way I'm raised. He served his mission in Pittsburgh, so he came back, and everyone asked me, like, hey, you're from Utah. Why do you like the Steelers? I'm like, because my dad taught that to me. Like, that's what it is. And so I think that's what it is. It's just from a young age, my parents were like, okay, hey, you're going to play sports. They went to college at Utah State. Sorry. It's not BYU. But we chose we chose the right side, so up there, they loved going to the Spectrum and watching Utah State basketball games and the football games and all that type of stuff. And so they just instilled that into us as a young age that, hey, sports are fun. It keeps you active. It keeps you outside. In Tremont, and there's really not much to do. I grew up with 500 kids in our graduating class, which is still a good chunk, but it's not like these Salt Lake and Utah County schools that have thousands of kids in a graduating class. So, I mean, a lot of kids in Tremont are farmers. They're out there milking their cows, branding their cows. We had Bring Your Tractor to School Day at high school.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Yes. Yeah. So people were driving their big,
fantastic.
Their big
John Deere
combines.
tractors. Yeah,
their combines and stuff. Whoever brought the biggest tractor was the coolest that day. They'd bring, like, Ride Your Horse to School Day because they had a corral outside for the agricultural side of our high school. And so there was really nothing much. Our parents got a little hoop for us, and we started playing basketball. We'd play wiffle ball in the backyards. We'd play backyard football. I mean, this is typical stuff that you do as a kid. It's just you don't want to go inside until it's bedtime,
right?
Or until mom says, "Hey, it's dinner time," and you got to get in the tub.
So did you guys grow up on a farm? Were you guys a farming family as well?
We did not, but we grew up with many friends that we would go out there and shoot the rabbits with them or shoot clay pigeons and help them herd their cows and that type of stuff.
Okay. Kate, so with your parents being diehard Utah State fans, how did they feel about you guys choosing BYU?
My dad still has the hardest time today wearing a BYU shirt. So, like, the closest you can see him repping anything BYU is the color, like, royal blue.
Yeah,
like, that's as far as he'll go.
Nothing with the logos. He won't do anything like that.
We've tried our best to throw in some shirts like that and say, hey, Dad, come on. You got to switch over to the good side.
I'm surprised he doesn't just wear navy because then it's just like, hey, take it as you will, right?
Exactly.
Right. He tells this story of when he was in college at Utah State and he went to a football game and they had shirts on the back of the chairs for the student section, and it said it had a Y on it with a screw through it, saying, like, screw the Y.
Oh, my gosh.
And he still says that he has it today and wears it under every single shirt that's royal blue or anything like that, which I don't know if that's true, but
I think he's turning side.
He's turning a corner a little bit.
Sure. I mean, he's got his only daughter right here.
I know.
His little princess, and I think that's kind of hitting his sweet spot.
All you have to do, Kate, is be like, Dad, will you please wear a BYU shirt? How could he say no?
Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet. I might have to.
So you're the only girl in your family with 3 brothers. You mentioned that they were a big influence on your love for sports. Were you pretty competitive with them growing up?
Oh, yes. I mean, 3 brothers, you have to hold your own, right? And just like what Nate said, we were always in the backyard playing basketball, football, anything. And in my brain, when I was little, I was like, I can play with them too. Like, they're not bigger than me. I'm just as tough as them. So that's I feel like that's kind of where my mindset developed, was growing up with my big brothers and having to hold my own to kind of not make it, because by any means they weren't mean or anything like that. But that's just the nature of our family, and that's how I grew up. So
we'd give her a good time. And being the only girl, you kind of got to be the diamond in the rough.
Right.
And so she had to learn how to be roughed up and tumbled a little bit, just because me and my brother would give her the work sometimes and say, she's like, all right, hey, you guys aren't going to knock me down. I'm going to get back up and go, and you're going to get my best.
She had to. I feel bad for whoever you end up marrying, Kate.
Oh, me too. Trust me, it's already bringing someone home today. Good luck.
I'm so sorry in advance. Nate, you're a tall guy at 6'6". I think someone that sees you would immediately jump to basketball, right? Like, oh, this guy's got to be a basketball player. So how did baseball become the favorite sport for you?
I loved all the sports. I mean, in high school, I played all 3 sports up until my junior year, and then I kind of decided that football wasn't the right route. I mean, it's a barbaric sport. You're getting crushed every play, every single snap, and especially at my high school, you had to play both sides. And I kind of figured, like, for me to make it to the next level and to kind of take that burden off my parents to get school paid for was baseball. And I kind of hit my niche when I was junior in high school. The summer going into my junior year, I was playing summer baseball. Baseball is typically a year-round sport. I mean, you got to be playing all the time. And so I said, all right, I'm going to be done playing football. I'm going to play fall baseball and kind of set myself up to get scholarships to go and play at the next level. And so I stopped playing, kind of fell in love with baseball just because I was a good pitcher. Couldn't really hit the baseball that well. I mean, I thought I could. I'd occasionally run into one and hit one a long ways. But I did a really good job pitching. And so I could command the baseball very well. I didn't really know how to spin it to where I do now, kind of off-speed stuff. But it just felt natural to me is what happened. And so I decided to quit playing football, played basketball just to keep me in shape because there's really not much you can do in the winter here in Utah. I mean, you got to hopefully have it indoor at your high school, which we did. And so I'd kind of play a couple catch play a couple times throughout the week while we're playing basketball, getting ready for the basketball and baseball to come up. And so I'd go play baseball and went around all over the country playing baseball with some teams here in Utah and then a couple California preps type stuff and got offers and said, all right, baseball's the route.
Let's go.
Basketball's tough. I mean, you look at the basketball team here at BYU, to be in a good school, I mean, there's only 2 rounds in the NBA draft, but most of the big men here, I'm a point guard size.
Yeah,
that's 6'6". You're a point guard. I'm not built like a point guard. I'm about 6'6", 250 pounds. That's not a typical point guard build. So
you're built like Aaron Judge.
Yeah,
he's a big boy.
So I was like, all right, baseball is going to be the route. I can throw baseball hard, and so let's go with baseball.
Makes sense. I love it. And Kate, you played basketball and volleyball and softball in high school. How did softball become the sport that you knew you were good enough at to play at the next level?
So mine was kind of like the same story as Nate. I loved playing volleyball. I loved playing basketball, and I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I kind of blame that for how good I am at softball, you know. But I really loved softball, and I loved how I could connect with my family with softball too. I mean, I talk to Nate and I pick his brain, especially when I was younger and in high school. I didn't really know much, and I had Nate that was going to go play college baseball, and then Jake that was already at a D1 college, right? So I kind of understood softball a little bit more than I understood volleyball and basketball, and I just felt like my skills in softball were ultimately better than the rest. So that's kind of how I ended up with softball, just because I love it, and I don't know, I put the most time and effort and hard work into it. So
in both pitchers, which is interesting. So did you get into pitching because of your brother as well?
I wouldn't say because of them. I mean, I started playing when I was little, so I kind of played everywhere. I mean, I started out as a second baseman, and I was at second base, and I was like, man, this kind of sucks. Like, this is slow. I'm not part of every single play.
I'm going to touch the ball, every time.
I get a ground ball every, 8 pitches, maybe that, not even. And so I was finally like, hey, Dad, maybe I want to, start pitching. And I don't know, in baseball and softball, pitching is completely different because Nate, I mean, this sounds amazing. They go throw 80 pitches and then they're done for 3 days. But me, I can go as many pitches as I want and however many days I can throw as much as I want. So I don't know, I just kind of wanted to be involved in every single play and every single pitch. So that's how I decided to be a pitcher. And
I love it.
Sky's the limit from now. So
true competitor right there. Nate, before transferring to BYU, you played at Southern Idaho and you served a mission in Mexico City at some point in there. How did the opportunity come about to become a Cougar?
Good question. So I came back from my mission. I was originally committed to Utah Valley, and that was out of high school. So I went right out of high school. Came back, and they pulled my scholarship. You're not good enough. We didn't think you were going to come back and want to play. So I was like, all right, we'll move on. And so I got in contact with the guy I knew before. He was the national cross-checker for the Atlanta Braves, and he said, all right, one of the best pitching coaches in this west side of the U.S. is at College of Southern Idaho. I was like, what? In Twin Falls, Idaho? So I was like, all right, cool. I'll go the JUCO route. I went up there, blew my elbow out the first year I was at CSI, which was literally 2 weeks before COVID happened. So it was kind of rough timing. The whole world was kind of collapsing at the time. I was lucky enough on the Friday the 13th of March, which was kind of a crazy day. I was just like, this does not seem like it's going to go well. It's Friday the 13th. I got to get Tommy John surgery. Like, what's going on? My whole baseball career is over. Like, what's going on? And so I got Tommy John. Thank heavens. I was the last non-essential surgery in the state of Utah before literally the next day, COVID shut the whole world down. No one could go out. It was a tough time. Baseball was on pause all sports were on pause. Just life in general was on pause for people. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to use this time to get myself back into the shape I want to be. And so I was just rehabbing with the guy in Salt Lake that was really good. So I just rehabbing, getting myself ready because I was like, I don't want to just get an associate's degree and be done from there. So got healthy, made it back by the 12-month mark. So I was pitching again at 12 months, which is kind of really fast.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, hey, the one school I want to go to, talk to my pitching coach, is BYU. I want to go to BYU just because I want to find my wife. I want to just be around the people that have the same beliefs that I do. I had other offers to go to like Baylor, which is another church-sponsored university, but I was like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ. I want to go to the school that's sponsored by them, which I had my brother go to the U, the school up north that we don't really want to talk about.
You don't even mention their name.
Yeah, and he had a rough experience there. He's just like, it's not what it is. And like, go to BYU because they have the same foundation as us as a family. They have very pretty girls. Well, hopefully you find your eternal companion there. And so I said, all right, Nick, I want to go to BYU. What can I do to get there? And so we just kind of had a good season. I was throwing really well, throwing really hard. The recruiting coordinator, who's not here anymore, called me and said, hey, we got you a scholarship offer. What do you think? And I said, done deal. Let's go to BYU. So I came to BYU, and the rest is history.
You manifested it.
I did.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Everything, because then you ended up marrying a beautiful volleyball player as well from BYU. So
I did. I found a good one.
That's amazing. So I want to know, because that's some tough stuff, like everything you just mentioned there, going through that injury and the surgery, and at the same time looking for another potential school to go to. How did you mentally kind of overcome some of those hurdles?
I think just being taught as a kid how to handle adversity. I mean, there was times that my parents were like, okay, hey, you got to deal with this yourself. Like, this is ultimately what's going to make you the man. And obviously, kind of going back to the mission part, you learn to grow up. I got sent straight from Tremont, Utah. I didn't get the chance to go to the beautiful MTC right here. They sent me straight to Mexico City, the MTC down there. And so I'm just, eyes are wide open, and you're like, holy cow, like, I don't speak a lick of Spanish. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I got to just start learning this. And so you kind of get pushed into these corners that, like, okay, the only way that I get out of this corner is by fighting. And if I want to learn Spanish, if I want to learn how to handle this adversity that comes through the injury, then you just got to fight through it. I mean, there's tough breaks that you're going to have in your life, and you just got to get yourself out. And fighting is the way you're going to get yourself out. So
that is really cool.
Thank you.
I love that bit of advice. And Kate, what about for you? What made BYU the right choice for you to pursue softball at the next level?
I have to say this one is probably on Nate. I mean, I was kind of like my dad. I was kind of like, oh, BYU, you know, like he kind of gets that little leeway in there. And I'm like, oh. Anyways, I show up to Nate's games, and I'm instantly like, the baseball field's connected to the softball field, and I walk over there, and I'm like, holy cow, like this stadium's huge. The field is awesome. The big Y, football's like, scoreboard in the back, and then you have like the mountains on the other side. It's just amazing. And then also I go to Nate's wife's volleyball games, and the crowd is just insane. The fans are loud. It's just a great atmosphere, and that's kind of when I knew I wanted to be here, was like everyone like around here. It's just such a tight group, and we all have the same beliefs, same morals. Everyone wants you to do good. Everyone's super nice. I can't believe that. Everyone's super kind. And
you listening, everybody? You better be nice, okay?
No, yeah, but I don't know. I kind of blame Nate for that one. Just going to the ball field and kind of experiencing through him what he went through and everything that he got, and all the experiences, all the gear, everything. And it kind of opened my eyes wide open and was like, you know, this is the place, and this is where I want to go. So that's kind of how I started being a fan of BYU and wanting to come here.
There's nothing like Miller Field. That's true. It's fantastic.
Especially when you got the both sides of the field where you can look back and you see the big football stadium, the big Y, and the new scoreboard, and then you go to the other side through the other portals, and you see the Wasatch Front, and you're like, holy cow, it's right here. Like, I have many teammates that I still play with, and like, is that real? Like, That's not CGI. I'm like, no, dude.
That's what it looks like.
You can literally see, we start in March, and you can see the snow still on the mountain. Like, it's insane background. It's cool.
So awesome.
Yeah, and it's super fun when there's a baseball game and a softball game going on at the same time. And, I mean, my dad's a big fan of it because he'll just bounce back and forth. And, I don't know, you get, like, the best of both worlds right there.
That's right. So. Come on, Dad. Be a wife fan. Kate, and I want to know from you, too, Nate, being a pitcher, that's like high stakes. All eyes are on you, right? And like you said, you touch the ball every time, where every single other position, it's like, hopefully you get it once a game, right? So what do you do to stay focused on the mound? We'll start with Kate.
So my big thing is always before I go onto the mound. So usually when I'm out in the bullpen, I'm visualizing, making sure I'm doing the same thing every single game, like trying to get my reps in right. A big thing for me, too, is, like, self-confidence. I mean, last year, kind of thrown into it all, like, kind of like a sink or swim situation. And, I don't know, you kind of have to fight right there. And that's kind of what got me going through it all, is just the confidence part and knowing that I am good enough to be there and good enough to compete against these girls that are – I mean, I was playing against, like, Kinsey Hansen and Tiara Jennings, like, all these big girls that I grew up watching, and I was like, there's no way I'm pitching against them right now. So that's, like, the biggest thing for me is self-confidence and making sure that you're doing the right things to prepare in, like, either if that's breathing, visualization, or whatever. But I kind of learn all my things from Nate.
He's going to say exactly what you just said, but confidence goes a long way. Yes. I think that's a huge one, especially coming in as a freshman, like you mentioned. I think that's incredible. Nate, what about for you? What do you do to get ready on the mound?
I do a lot. I think the biggest thing for me is I'm a relief pitcher, so I usually come in from, like, the 7th inning past, kind of set up or close. And so I think the biggest thing for me is just getting into that mindset of, all right, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to give my best stuff a chance for you to either hit it or not hit it. And so I know that a really good hitter only gets on base 3 out of 10 times. That's hitting 300. That's really hard to do. And most of the guys I face are not hitting 300. And so if I just go with that mentality that, okay, hey, I'm going to challenge you with the best stuff, the pitches that I'm convinced to throw, hit my spots, you're not going to get on base. And so that's the biggest thing, is just getting that mindset, okay, hey, I'm going to challenge you. You got to hit it. And if you don't, then you're going to get out. If you do, more than likely, you're going to get out. So I'm just play the odd game.
You're a numbers guy.
Yeah. You just got to play the odds. That's all you got to do. And so if you have that conviction that, okay, hey, I can trust my stuff, then you're going to get out more times out than not.
I love that. And that comes down to confidence as well.
For sure.
Just trusting in what you got.
Exactly.
Nate, you were drafted into professional baseball by the Tampa Bay Rays in 2022. What was that experience like, and what was going through your mind when you got that call?
It was nuts, for real. I wasn't expecting to get drafted by the Rays. Just going over the draft day and the whole draft process, obviously at BYU, you kind of, in the fall, you have these setup meetings. But I was like, first off, I'm too old. I'm 24 years old. I'm probably going to sign a free agent deal at the end of the year if I have a really good year. And it was kind of hard because I was coming back from Tommy John, so that would have been my first full, really healthy season that I pitched. And so it was just kind of a lot for a scout to take a chance on me, which they did, and it's kind of paid off. But going back to that, you kind of meet all these different guys from different organizations. They have their different questions and questionnaires and Zooms and all that type of stuff. So you do that stuff, you meet with them, and then literally a month before the draft, you kind of get all these phone calls from them. Like, all right, well, we're thinking about drafting you. What does this money number sound like to you? Do you like it? Do you not? And some of the offers, I'm like, dude, I could sign on at McDonald's and make more tomorrow. I'm like, no, like, I can wait till the end of the draft, and you have to give me a certain amount of number. And so I was just sitting there, went down to California to visit my wife's family, and I got a phone call from an Anaheim number, and I'm like, is this like spam? What is it? So I just answered it, and it was a guy from the Angels organization, and they're like, okay, hey, we want to draft you. Does this number sound well? I was like, this is like really good. Like, I really would take this money. Like, we're good. And so I called my parents because Kate was down there for a high school tournament.
I was there playing softball in Anaheim.
In Anaheim. So it kind of worked weird. It was weird. It's just kind of like God's timing, it felt like. And they're like, okay, hey, I'm in Chino Hills, California. We're like 30 minutes from the stadium. He's like, oh, really? We're at the stadium. Like, we're running our draft stuff. Come down. So I went down there. We bought tickets. We got in, got to meet all of the people that are on the scouting side of baseball. Got to meet some of the GMs and like, all right, you're going to be part of the Angels organization. Nice to meet you. Just turn your phone off on draft day. We promised you this. You're going to get this money number. You're going to get this and this. And I was like, cool. Like, all right, I'm going to be an Angel. Little did I know I wasn't going to be an Angel. So I'm sitting there. Draft day happens. I didn't listen to him. I kept my phone on. Just because you never know. You don't know if they're pulling your chain or not. Right. And so you just don't want to get led the wrong way. So I had an agent at the time, and he was reaching out to people. And I was just getting offers from all these teams. And I'm like, no, like, I can wait. I can still make more money than that. And so the biggest thing was trying to make the dollar value work for me. And so I was just sitting there, got a bunch of calls. I was reaching out to my agent like, dude, what's going on? Why aren't the Angels picking me? What's going on? And about day 2, ends up, get some phone calls kind of going into day 3 of the draft. And I call my agent. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to talk to the A's or the Angels. We're going to talk to them and say, hey, you guys got to draft him now or he's going to go to another team. And so I get off the phone with the Tampa Bay Rays guy. And I said, all right, if I'm not there in the 12th or if I don't get picked by the Angels in the 12th round, you guys have me in the 13th. And they're like, all right, bet. So I just sitting there.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was just sitting there and my phone's blowing up. My parents are going crazy. Like, why are you saying no? Why are you saying no? I'm like, Mom, just hold on.
Yeah, my parents were going crazy. They were like, he's telling all these teams no. Like, what is he doing?
Like, just hold on. Things are going to work out the way it needs to work out. And so little did I know, is a little voice over on the TV because the last day 3 of the draft is just it's just quick pick. They're fired and picks fast within 20 seconds of each other. And all of a sudden I hear, but the Tampa Bay Rays select Nate Dahle out of Brigham Young University. And I was like, oh, geez, all right, I guess I'm a Tampa Bay Rays. Like, craziness. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought I was going to go to the Angels. But guess I'm a Tampa Bay Ray now.
Oh, my gosh. What an insane time. And then how long after that before you had to, like, report and get going?
They gave me a week.
Oh, my gosh.
So they gave you a week, and they said, all right, here's your plane ticket. Get on a plane. We'll fly you out to Port Charlotte, our spring training facilities in Port Charlotte, Florida. And so I got on a plane, packed my stuff up. I was there for 2 months and came back for the first little bit. Yeah.
Kate, what was that like for you to just witness?
Oh, it was insane. Like, I was feeling all the high anxiety, high stress like that my parents were feeling because I mean, everyone's on their edge of their seats. Like, what are you doing, Nate? What are you doing? But I don't know. It was such a cool experience. And then after his name was called, I mean, we did the whole big party. We went and got hats and jerseys and went to dinner. And, I mean, it was just so cool, especially watching, like, my big brother. I mean, someone that I really look up to getting called and getting to live out his dream that I know that he's been wanting for his whole entire life. And I don't know. It's just super cool and super special to watch him do that.
That's incredible. And Nate, a couple of years ago, you got married to BYU volleyball's Kenzie Kerber, and now you have a sweet little son, Beckett. How has becoming a dad changed your life and how you've looked at baseball?
It has changed a lot. I think the biggest thing that you learn is you kind of get that sense of I got to provide. Like, I want this kid to have the best life. And it's kind of cool to see him. He's growing at such an unreal rate. He's awesome. It's cool to get married and have a kid, and you kind of learn that aspect. Okay, hey, like, I'm a father now. You don't really understand that aspect of life until you have a kid. You truly don't understand what real love is until you get married, and then until you have a kid. And so you kind of understand. Okay, hey, like, I'm doing this for them. I'm trying to give my wife and baby the best life that they can. And so just by putting in the work day in and day out kind of helps you establish that, okay, I'm doing the best that I can, and if it falls short, it falls short. There's always something else that I can do, but I'm giving it the best chance that I can to give Kenzie and Beckett the best chance of life, and also having him see, okay, hey, my mom put the work in, my dad put the work in. This is kind of the standard that we have as a family, is that I'm going to work for what I get. And so you kind of have to have that establishment of basics or norms. in your family to kind of be successful. And so it's cool to see. It's cool to have a kid, but it also builds that fire inside yourself that I got to provide for these guys. And if I don't, then am I really fulfilling my job as a father?
Right. Oh, that's a lot of pressure right there.
It's good pressure. I mean, there's always pressure in life. And so if you have good pressure, then it's going to force you to do what you need to do to come out on top.
I love that. And Kate, obviously sports has been a huge part of your life and your family's life. You're not married yet, but as you picture your family that you'll have in the future, what's something that you learned growing up, maybe from your own parents and your family, that you want to continue on with your family in the future?
I mean, I've learned like so much, especially from my parents, my brothers, everything. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is if you put in the work, it can happen. I mean, every single day I walk into the field and there's this big portrait of Nate on the wall, and it's almost like he's watching me, and not in a creepy way, but it's just like serves as a reminder that he did all these hard things and all this stuff to get to where he is now, and it really paid off for him. Like, look what he's doing. And I don't know, like, that's one thing that's really been engraved in me is as like however much pressure or however hard you work or what you put into something is what you get out. So if I'm working hard every day, like sweat, tears, blood, everything, like I'm going to get that out of it, right? Like however hard you work is what you're going to get out. Ultimately.
I love that. I'm here with BYU softball and BYU baseball's Kate and Nate Dahle, also siblings. You guys are incredible. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with me today.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having us.
It's been a good time.
Thanks again to Kate and Nate Dahle for coming on the show with me. Tori Kimball helped produce this episode with senior producer Terry South. You can join the Royal Legacy wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYURadio.org. Royal Legacy is a production of BYU Broadcasting.